Hello everyone, and welcome back to my Let's Play series, Can I Beat Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time before the remake releases? I am S.A.N, and when we last left off, we just cleared the ice cave in Zora's domain and thawed out King Zora here. So we have the iron boots and the Zora's tunic now, which means we have everything we need to explore the next dungeon, which is the infamous Water Temple that everyone hates, but I love. So we will be going there soon. Probably going to be a little bit of preparatory stuff I need to do first. Because magic becomes much more useful from here on out. I have the double magic meter, but I might want to pick up another green potion. Because I'm probably going to need a lot of magic for the upcoming temple. Yeah, so I have an empty bottle because I had to use one for all the blue fire. So we'll probably take a stop at Kakariko Village and pick up a green potion. And then I probably want to get to the Water Temple right away, so I'll probably head there afterwards. Alright, so just a quick trip to Kakariko Village, and then we'll move on. One thing I wanted to notice is just looking at Hyrule Field, and I know it's not very big, but it's small, but it feels empty, which is something I wonder if they're going to fix in the remake. As I played this game, I love thinking about what's going to change in the remake, because we know it's coming up this year, so... yeah, I think Hyrule Field's probably going to get some more content in it, because, I mean... It's not very big, but it feels empty compared to the Hyrule Fields and things like, well, you know, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, or A Link to the Past, and Echoes of Wisdom even. It feels empty, especially at this point in the game. So, just need to do this, go to the potion shop here. Come to think of it, I did start the trading sequence out here last time, sort of. Like, I got it just started, so I might continue with that a little bit. Again, I don't know how much more side content I'm going to do. Given the fact that we have quite a few Golden Skulltulas and the next reward is at 30, I think it starts spacing out after that quite a bit. But at 30, I believe we get the next wallet upgrade, which might come in handy. Maybe. Like I said, rupees are not that big of a deal in this game. So, yeah. So if I remember correctly, we need to take the cuckoo that she gave us, which is hatched now. It hatched last time when I was in the Long Lawn Ranch. And we have to wake up Talon, which is, I mean, it's kind of a repeat of what happened the last time, so we just have to find the guy. This is Impa's house, if I remember correctly. And clearly, he's not here. Alright. What about... maybe this house with the two wooden boxes beside it? You can tell I don't do this very often. For those who are wondering, the reward for doing the trading sequence is the big Goron sword. It's powerful, but I do not really... it's not necessary to beat the game. Let's face it, most of the upcoming bosses that we'll have to fight will be easy enough to defeat without the big Goron sword. So we wake up Talon yet again. And we can tell him that Long Line Ranch is, that we saved Malin, and the ranch is back to normal, so he can head back now. Alright, so that takes care of that, and the next thing we can do is, I think, go talk to the cuckoo lady. And I think... do we need... I think we do need it for that. Because I'm pretty sure if we just talk to her, she'll just repeat the phrase she says. Yeah, there we go. Alright, now we have to show it to her, I believe. And... there we go. I'll give you a rare, valuable cuckoo in exchange. Kojiro. has used... Yeah. Her brother, by the way, for those you don't know, is kind of the depressed guy who hangs around Kakariko Village at night, the tree by the entrance. That's him. And he is the next person in the trading sequence. Like I said, I have no idea if I'm going to continue with this or not, because it really is a lot of work for very little, and I am trying to beat this game before the remake comes out. This is kind of a race. But now we should move on to the Water Temple. Alright, so let's play the Serenade of Water, my favorite song in this game because it's quite soothing. Yeah, warp to Lake Hylia. Alright, so here we are at Lake Hylia now, and as you can see, there's not much of a lake left. This is a side effect of what's happening in the Water Temple, which I believe we're just above. So just down here is the entrance. Alright, so we need to don the iron boots now, which will let us sink to the bottom. And because we have the Zora's Tunic now, we can breathe underwater, so we're perfectly fine. Alright, hookshotting this blue crystal here causes it to come out and the door to open. And here we go. We're inside the Water Temple now. Quite possibly the most infamous dungeon in Legend of Zelda history, and definitely the most infamous dungeon in this entire game. As I said, I actually quite like it. It's a nice 3D maze. One of the main issues with it, I think, is the fact that it's very easy to get turned around in here. So the main mechanic of the Water Temple is we have to raise and lower the water level repeatedly. Another reason this might be kind of less popular in some other dungeons is because this temple has very, very, very few enemies in it. And most of the enemies you do fight in this are underwater, which means you can't use the sword. And because a lot of people tend to just, I don't know, swing the sword around and do various things like that, it kind of forces them to into a play style they may not be very familiar with, because as you can see right here, I can't really use the sword at all. The buttons become transparent. We can use the hookshot. Moving this block here isn't necessary, but it does help us in the long run. So I'm just going to do it now. So, as you can see, another thing that some people complain about is having to open up the menu and take off the iron boots to put them on and close the menu and do that again. Okay, that's all I can say to that. I don't find that annoying at all. So these little metallic sea urchin enemies that turn into rocks after a certain distance can only be defeated with the hookshot, as I said. You can use your shield underwater, by the way. Don't ask me why you can use the shield and not the sword. This is something that was definitely changed in later Zelda games like Twilight Princess. The controls for the iron boots, by the way, underwater aren't the best. They kind of feel like tank controls in older games. Ah! Link, it's your fiancé, Ruto. All grown up now. Yes. I find it funny how she recognizes us, but, and Darunia recognizes us, and Saria recognizes us, but most of the people in Kokiri Forest did not. Yeah, she hasn't forgotten that, terrible member. Well, she's matured a little bit, at least. She's developed a bit of a sense of humor. Yeah, the funny thing is, Link is still basically, as I said, mentally the same person from 7 years ago, because he spent it in stasis. Yeah, we saw that. Yeah, she wants to, so she's gonna help us save Zora's domain. Yeah, and just saying we have to help her. Yeah, you have to help me destroy the evil monster in the temple. Okay, yeah. Inside the Water Temple, there are 3 places where you can change the water level, and she's going to lead us to the first one. Alright, so we now need to head up after her. Alright, so floating up after Ruto, there's one thing I want to point out here. and that there is going to be a very obvious wall there with a big gash in it. That, through there, leads to one of a number of small keys which are well hidden in this temple. And that's probably one of the other reasons this temple isn't the best. It combines some of the things I mentioned about for the forest temple earlier when I was doing my playthrough for that. A lot of locked doors in the same sort of, and sequential locked doors as well, a few of those. So it kind of creates this false sense of security. So we need to remember that. That's one of them. There's another one too, but I'll say in a moment I'll get to something else I realized. But first we need this is the map. And by the way, the map and the compass are essential for navigating this place. Because it is big, it has several floors, and you have to navigate while underwater and either swimming or walking with iron boots. The map becomes essential, and so is the compass. So anyone who thinks that it's disappointing to find the compass in a Zelda game, just bear in mind, just use this as an example, because as you can see, 4 floors to this dungeon, and they're all pretty expansive. Alright, this Triforce icon is what we need to lower the water. Or just adjust the water level. This one will lower it to the bottom. If you played the 3D Ocarina of Time remake on the 3DS, they actually had these, they had, like, lines guiding you to these things. Like, in a train station in Tokyo, or an airport. Sometimes they have lines like that, and they also show you to what level they raise the water levels. Now, one thing I did forget to do at this point is there was a door in that chamber we just met Princess Ruto in. Now the water level is lowered, I had to light the torches now that it's, you know, the torches can burn now that there's no more water there. I forgot to do that. Which means I'm going to actually be short one small key at some point, but don't worry, we'll get back to that. In the meantime, I'm going to spend the next few minutes exploring the various underwater chambers here and seeing which ones I can and cannot get to. This is one of the ones I know I cannot get through because we need the hookshot upgrade to get to that other hookshot target. Yeah, I've been mentioning a few times that I can't wait to get the hookshot upgrade. This is it. This is the dungeon when we finally get that. Alright. This is a different sliding block, I believe, but nevertheless we need to push it. Now? Yeah, it is. Different one. Alright, nevertheless, we have to push this one into position to explore. So at the moment with the water at our current level, we have access to the basement and the first floor. Right. I like putting the iron boots on midair, if you haven't noticed yet. It's kind of funny to do that. Saves a bit of time, I suppose. I guess I could see why this might get tedious for some people, but I grew up playing games like this, so I don't see what the problem is. But more modern games, gamers might find it more annoying. Alright, so we have to hit this switch, which raises a geyser that we need to jump across. And I don't have to worry about that Tektite. Ah, yes, this chamber. Right, this one has a strong current. Front misclick. Yeah, alright. I'm just trying to remember if this was an area we needed to go into now or if it's later, but I think we're fine. Alright, so one thing we have to do is trigger that crystal switch. With, the only thing we can use under here again is the hookshot, so that's it. There we go. This is another time puzzle, but this one's a bit more lenient because, well, the strong current in this room is going to, as you were about to see, send us around quite a bit. Fortunately, I'm able to make it up here. Alright. And I think it's a small key in here. Yes, it is. Because we need this small key to get into the next area where the next water leveling section is. Alright. Not quite sure what to call it. Water regulating crest, whatever you want to call it. Alright, just ignore the shell blades, those clam things. And that's basically the best advice I can give you for a lot of this dungeon. You can just ignore a lot of the enemies. Which is probably why I think a lot of people don't like this one. It's more of a puzzle-themed dungeon than a more combat-themed dungeon. And it's difficult to navigate in. So that might be one of the reasons they don't like it quite as much. Alright, hook that across. And now we need to go back the way we came into the main chamber. Alright, now that we're back in here, I'm sure you've noticed this central pillar-like structure here. This is what we need the key for. And we'll get to that in a moment. Just want to finish exploring some of these side rooms. Alright, this one requires a bomb to get through, and... Alright, boots back on. You have to do that a lot. I can see why some people might find that a little annoying. It's just something I just don't even think about, ever. So. Okay. That shell blade we had to deal with because it's in our way. The hook shot's the best way of doing that. Just ready it, Z target them, and then approach until they open and hit them with the hook shot. That's all it takes. One shot is all it takes. Alright. Ah, this one. Alright, so this affects the water level and raises that platform up there. Okay. So we actually can get up here. More Tektites. So there's a gold skull tool on the other side there. Huh. I do not remember exactly what we need to do here. There's clearly a crystal switch on the other side of that gate, but we cannot get to it from here. Maybe this is something we come back through later, and the crystal switch is to open the gate so we can get back out. There's a few things like that in this temple, so maybe. Oh well, I'm sure we'll get to it if it's important. If not, it will never be gone to because, well, it's not important. Besides, it's one gold Skulltula. It's not going to make that big of a difference. I'm definitely not going for the full 100 golden Skulltulas there in this game, by the way. At most, I'm probably going to get to the 30 mark to get the next wallet upgrade, and that will probably be it. Unfortunately, that means I won't get a heart piece, which is one of them as well. Alright, so we open this door, and this brings us into this central, basically, shaft-like chamber that has tons of spikes in it, by the way, and as you're about to see here, I'm going to miss hookshot into that and take a bunch of damage from the spikes. So aim higher is my advice here. There you go. And here's the second crest. This one fills the water level up to midway, so fills the first floor with water, but the second and third floors remain dry. Now, this is important. These platforms here will float in water, which means that passageway is opened up beneath us. This is one of the other 2 keys that we need to get. Basically, there are 2 keys that I constantly try and remind myself every time I play this to get. This is one of them, and the other one was in the gashed wall there, beyond there. So I remembered this one perfectly. Unfortunately, I forgot about one of the other ones. Alright, so we need to open this gate, and it's going to drop a bunch of enemies, at which point we need to deal with those enemies. Fortunately, we can just stay at a safe distance and use the hookshot. I mean, I know a lot of people might complain about not being able to use the sword in here, but, I mean, come on. The hook shot is clearly the better option here, or any ranged option is the better option. Then again, I tend to use lots of different methods of fighting enemies, lots of items, lots of magic, and I guess other players might just run in and hack and slash with the sword. That just seems boring to me. I like having a strategy and trying different things out. Oh well, to each their own. Alright, so up here... As you can see, this is a pretty well hidden small key. So we need this to go forward. Yeah. And now it's just a simple matter of going back to where we came. Unfortunately, because I missed that door at this point that I was supposed to go through by lighting the torches to get, I believe it's another small key. Most of them are. I'm going to be one short, which means I'm going to have to do the other thing that probably really annoys people playing the water temple. Adjusting the water levels, again, because you can technically, if you get everything right and memorize almost everything, you can get this done in one go. Unfortunately, that's very hard. Oh yeah, also that door locks behind us. Alright, so this is where we need to go for the small key, I believe. Alright. Yeah, what I'm doing at the moment is trying to remember where the, where that door with Ruto was. There it is, yeah. These torches lead to the right way. Bear in mind that. Because I want to get the second key now. Yeah, this door. And this is the part where I realized I made a mistake. Yeah. There's a small room in there with very little in it, so it's probably a chest that we need. This chest is visible through this crack, so it's pretty obvious what we need to do here. We'll get this first. So this should be small key number 2, yes. Alright. Technically small key number 3, but of the 2 I forget, those are the 2 we need. Well, we'll have to come back and get that one later. It's not that big of a deal. I find it funny, though, that I kept trying to remind myself to get these 2 keys, the ones I pointed out to you, and doing so, I forgot one of the other ones. Well, just because I showed you, no one is perfect, and everyone will make mistakes in doing these things. It's just something you have to accept. Oh yeah, by the way, every time you leave this main chamber, all the enemies respawn. So there may not be many enemies in here, but the ones there are kind of annoying. We need the bow to hit that eye switch, but we can't get through there without using the long shot, which we don't have yet. Alright, let's see what's through here. Okay, so we have another crystal switch and another geyser. Oh, and a Tektite. Thought I remembered that. Okay, no. Just a simple matter of dealing with that one. Alright. We could use a bomb for this, but I prefer to use the hookshot. By the way, the hookshot will sometimes reach targets even if the laser pointer doesn't show up, because that's not actually a target we can hookshot to. Ah, okay. And here is the third and final crest. Now, I recommend casting Furor's Wind here, which I'm going to do now. Oh, and here we find something interesting. I left a Furor's Wind warp point in the Fire Temple, and apparently it's still active. As interesting as it would have been to see if I could teleport myself all the way back to the Fire Temple, I kind of want to do that. Alright. Oh, not close enough to the crest. Alright. So now the water level is back where we found it initially. So these flotation platforms, as I call them, or the ones that raise the water level, are important because we can't get through the doors that are on them, as you can see, unless they're in the right position. And this is where we needed the 3 keys I was talking about. I remembered the 2 that were hard to get, and I forgot the obvious one, unfortunately. And that is why we now have to turn around. Oh well, I thought I'd be able to impress everyone if I got this all done in one go, but 'twas not to be. Alright, back down we go. The good news is, this isn't very difficult. We just have to reset the water levels. And I think here's the point where I'm trying to think about what to do next. If I remember correctly. Alright, yeah. And this is the part where I realized it's just best to go back in order and just do it all over again. Alright. Elevator music would somehow seem appropriate there. Alright, so let's empty the Temple of Water again. The good news is, because I have Furore's Wind there, we can skip some of this, which is why I always do that. Because that one's slightly harder to get back to. Alright, so we need the bow here. We have to shoot through this brazier and light those torches. There we go. Just use that target to maneuver a bit, and a bit lower. There we go. Okay. More shell blades. These enemies are actually tougher in Majora's Mask because you can't use the hookshot underwater in that game. Because there's no Zora's Tunic. Alright, so here's the third small key we need. Alright, which means we can now teleport back to where we were before, raise the water level to the maximum, and go through that door on the 3rd floor. There we go. Well, this makes it so much easier. But first, recast Furore's Wind, because just in case we have to do this again. Because there is a good chance that we need to raise the water level multiple times. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think it is possible to do this all in one go. Because we do have to raise the water level and lower the water level a few times. So we have to just do it once more than we would absolutely need to. Alright. Ignore the water tektites for the umpteenth time. And let's see. Don't have the compass yet, so I'm not entirely sure where I am on this map. Alright, so we have to go through here now. Alright, so this waterfall room is kind of a tense puzzle, but a pretty straightforward one, in all honesty. So this platform is going to go up and down along its path like an elevator, or an escalator, I suppose, maybe. We need to use the hookshot to hookshot onto these platforms as they go down this waterfall, and then we need to, in sequence, hookshot to the next one in the line before, as you can see, we fall to our deaths. So this one's kind of tense. but not very difficult, as you can see. Just stay calm and keep hook-shotting up to the next one and the next one and the next one in turn, and it all goes well. Eventually, you'll be able to hook-shot onto this target right here, which leads us up to the door. Alright, that worked. Alright, so this is a slightly different water level raising puzzle with a slightly different crystal switch. It switches from red to blue. Blue raises the water level, red lowers it. It also raises these platforms with these hookshot targets on them. Unfortunately, it also means these tech-techs can get at us. I recommend just finishing them off quickly with the bow. And I recommend you do that before you get too far into this puzzle. They're not really a threat, but they can be a nuisance, so it's easier to just finish them off. Once that's done, you need to hit the switch again. Then we hook over to here. Climb over this dragon statue. Raise the water level one more time. Hook shot over to the next dragon statue. Lower the water level once more. Then climb on top of the dragon statue and raise the water level one last time. Alright, so now we have some more tech-types to deal with. Not very difficult, though. And then we have a like on the other side of some spikes. Whatever you do, do not hook shot over to that area while that like is alive. You will lose likely your Highland Shield and your Zora's Tunic. And take some damage. Oh, good. Some magic jars. Because I'm going to need a fair bit of that for this upcoming mini-boss. And this is one of the two reasons I wanted to get the extra green potion. The other reason, of course, was the fact that I didn't know how many times I was going to have to use Froze Wind to teleport back and forth here. So as you can see, there's very little in this room. Apart from a tree and a shadow of us. Dark Russell, conquer yourself. I promise you, having to fight your own shadow, a dark version of yourself, a dark doppelganger, was way more of a creative plot device back in the 90s than it is now. As you can see, he's going to mimic whatever we do and just dodge our attacks, even standing on our sword at one point you saw there. Fortunately, he cannot mimic my magic. So, I hope you all like the Din Fire animation, because I'm going to be casting it a lot. His shield does not block it. Which means, despite the fact that we have to play through this animation many times, this is the simplest way of just winning this boss fight. So, when in doubt, cast Fireball, it seems, is still the option even in this Zelda game. Eventually, he'll start attacking us of his own volition once he starts getting low on health, because he gets more aggressive as the fight goes on. But until then, like I said, I hope you like the Din Fire animation, because that's what I'm using to win this boss fight. Sometimes he is at a distance enough that he won't get hit, so you might miss. A few times. By and large, though, you'll take him out. And then the only other thing you have to do is remember to drink a potion to replenish your magic at some point. I can't imagine how people are doing this mini-boss fight without magic. As I said, he's past the halfway point of this fight now, so he's going to start getting much more aggressive. Which creates this interesting effect of him actually hacking and slashing at you while you're casting a spell during which you're invincible. Just keep your shield up when he attacks, and whenever there's a room for a gap in his animations to cast Din's Fire, do so. Alright. He'll sometimes get some lucky hits in, but for the most part, he'll just attack you while you're invincible. And eventually, he will go down. Down in flames. This just takes a while. There we go, finally. Well, it only took 1 and a little over a half magic meters to take him out. Alright, is this the right way? Because I still do not have the compass, so I'm not sure. No, it is not, and that like is back now. Alright, other door. Alright, and here we have, at long last, the long shot. It's got twice as far of reach, basically, that's all it does. Alright, now we need to play the Song of Time to get out of here. I suppose technically we could go back the way we came and fight our way through the Lake and the Tektites and everything else there, but this is simpler. Alright, this next section's a bit tricky. So we have a water, basically a river ride section with whirlpools in it that we have to avoid. So there are 2 ways we can do this. We can walk on the bottom with the iron boots, or we can try swimming. Both have risks. Alright, let's try the iron boots approach first. So we don't have to worry about the current this way. However, we're going to run into difficulties when we get to these whirlpool sections. As you can see, it will just start. The slopes are slanted enough steep enough that we will just slide down. Alright, so there's a golden skulltula here. Might as well grab this one. I've already missed, I think, 2. Alright. How many does that bring me up to now? I wonder. Apparently I'm not going to check. Alright, and here's where it starts getting really tricky. As you can see, the incline is too steep. They just cannot get back up, and yeah, we're gonna get drawn in. So I think the best strategy is to use a combination of the iron boots and swimming. And now I have to do the whole thing over again. So I'm going to try swimming for the first part, because it'll get us back to where we're quicker. And yeah, we can just, as long as we stay out of the whirlpool's reaches there, we should be fine. Now we just need to swim to this point here. Ah, fairy. Well, I do have an empty bottle. Let's catch this here. This would have been here for everyone who isn't using magic to fight Dark Link. Alright. I really wish some of the... I imagine these explanations will be cut down for the remake, because it does just feel a little tedious. Alright, now we need the iron boots here, just so we're not drawn into the currents, and just get right up there. Alright. Now we need the bow to hit the eye switch there. And now long shot over to the treasure chest. Oh. Oh, no, I just made it. Alright, another small key. Now that we have the long shot, most of this dungeon's open to us now, by the way. So this brings us back out into this current chamber we were into earlier. This always reminds me of those wave pools that you sometimes go to in swimming pools, ones where they simulate the waves and currents. That's what that always reminds me of. Alright, long shot across. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is find the boss key. Actually, probably the next thing we should do is probably find the compass. Just so I don't get lost as often in here, but still. I'm pretty sure I do find the compass at some point. But obviously I'm recording this audio in post, so... I do remember for the most part what happened, but sometimes I don't remember everything in perfect order. Alright. So, where to from here? Alright, I guess our next course of business is just to explore the remaining areas of this temple and see what we can find. Yeah, as you can see, without the compass, I am struggling a little bit to navigate in this area. So everyone thinks the compass is useless in Zelda games. I think I just proved you all wrong. Alright, I believe this leads towards the boss. Two fairies! This definitely leads towards the boss. There it is. Alright, so we don't have the boss key yet, so we don't have to worry about that very annoying path up to the door just yet. We will have to in a little while, though. Alright, so I think at this point we need to adjust the water level because there's a few things on the lower floors we haven't gotten yet. Yeah, like that eye switch thing right there. That's just the way out. Alright, so I'm going to try using the iron boots here to sink down and to see if I can get in position without adjusting the water levels, and well, there's the answer. The flotation platform is above us. And I cannot use the bow and arrow underwater. So there's the answer. So we now need to adjust the water level one more time. And boy, is this harder to navigate without the compass. See, the compass in this game doesn't just tell you where treasure chests and the boss is. It also gives you a little arrow indicator on the mini-map where you are. And I am so used to using that to navigate that now that I don't have it, it is very, very, very annoying. Alright, so once more. Empty the dungeon of water. This time, unfortunately, we do need to go through this bit of the dungeon again just to get the water level back to where we need it. I suspect this is part of the reason that some people don't remember this dungeon so fondly. There's a lot of backtracking. Oh well. I don't mind it. I mean, when you decide to beat a game before the remake comes out, you basically are setting yourself up to enjoy the... or not enjoy the full experience of it. Personally, I still was more annoyed with the Forest Temple at this point. Alright, now we go back out, and now we should be able to get to the ice switch and the hookshot spot. No, that's not it. There it is. Alright, so this is timing based. We just need to shoot the ice switch. And now get the long shot target lined up perfectly and get through before it closes. Not quite. Alright, there we go. That should be good. Yeah, you don't have long for that one. Remember this block we pushed into position earlier? Here we go. This is what we needed it for. Alright. So, I suspect this is not a small key. Yes. I could use some magic jars. Oh, okay, there it is. No, we're gonna need a bit more distance there. Alright, there we go. All that for a small key. Alright, before I adjust the water level again, is there anything else in here I need to do? Apparently not. Or at least I didn't think of anything at the time. I think we've almost got everything we need. Yeah, just to be sure, recreate the warp point. Yeah, I'm not certain because there is something on the second floor I haven't gotten to yet. So I'd rather deal with that first. Now the hard part, finding which of these doors leads to the spot I need to go to without a compass. No, this is just the passageway that leads back up to the crest I was just at. So we need to go the other way. Alright, it should be this way. Alright, so long shot up there. There's a geyser. I remember this puzzle. There we go. This is similar to the puzzle we did with to get the Megaton Hammer in the Fire Temple. Just a geyser of water instead of a ring of fire, and we have to trigger that switch and then quickly open the chest before the switch times off, and the water comes back up and obscures the chest again. These don't take damage anymore, and the good news is this is the compass. I do remember this puzzle because it's quite memorable. There we go. Now we can see where we're going. Unfortunately, we basically have done most of this dungeon at this point. Yeah. So we just have the one underwater section to do that gets us towards the boss key. Oh, land on the spikes. That should hurt a lot more than it does. Landing feet first on some spikes should really hurt. Should just be thankful this in like the early days of Castlevania, in which case it's, you know, lethal. Ah, now I can see where I am on this map, finally. Alright. So remember that section I told you we couldn't get to before? Yeah, that's where we're heading now. Alright, through this locked door, we have this room. This is probably one of the more convoluted rooms in the Water Temple. We have a whole bunch of tektites, a whole bunch of whirlpools and strong currents, and on top of that, rolling boulders. So my initial thought process is just kill the tektites, because they are going to be really annoying. You'll burn through quite a few arrows this way, but it is simpler. Don't worry, we don't need arrows for the boss fight in this dungeon. There we go. Yeah, firing at this distance is really difficult. Alright. Am I going to finish this off before I run out of arrows? Yes, but it's close. Alright, now we need to don the iron boots and get in the water. And the iron boots are necessary here because the current in here is incredibly strong. Yeah, there's no hookshot target, unfortunately. Which means we need to go over here as far as we can, unequip the iron boots, and climb up before we get dragged into the whirlpool. And that is why I wanted to get rid of the tektites, because they make this much harder. And here we encounter an enemy we haven't seen since Jabu Jabu's belly, the stingers. Fortunately, we can just hack them with the sword or kill them with the long shot, so they're no longer much of a threat. We also have a dozen hearts at this point, so they're not going to do much damage. Okay, I remember... Alright, they're giving us bombs, which probably means we need to bomb some walls in here. This is a switch that needs to be held down, I presume. It's not blue, like the other ones we've encountered, but it's going to come back up, I assume, yes. I imagine the reason it's not blue is because it's underwater, and maybe they felt that the blue would color would interfere with the color of the water? Maybe? Alright, so this should be a false wall. Alright, lay a bomb here. And I'm pretty sure I need to also place one on the other side, because I think we're going to have to transfer a block through this little narrow passageway here. Yes, I am. Alright. So, we need to blow up this wall too. Oh, this one they made obvious. Alright, So we have to push this block as far as we can on this side, and then we have to go around the other side and pull it the rest of the way. Alright, so pull it out so we can get behind it again. There we go. Alright, so pull as far as we can. That should be good enough. And now we get behind it again and push it the rest of the way, which will hold down the switch. There we go. That raises the water level, which lets us get up here. Alright, so we have another room with geysers to cross now. Honestly, I don't see why people don't like this dungeon. It had so many innovative ideas, especially for the time of this game came out. Alright, so we're back in the passageway above the room we were just in with all the whirlpools and the rolling rocks. We're in one of the chambers where the rocks come out, as you can see. There's a golden skulltula here, and I'm about to get it and make a mistake. As you can see, I'm going to finish with the golden skulltula and get the crest. And then... Oh, here's something interesting. The rocks will keep rolling, but if you're in the little information menu there, you don't take damage. And this is the mistake. I jumped back out. We have to go down that shaft where that was underwater by the golden skulltulas to get to the boss key. And I realize that now. Meaning we have to go do this again. The good news is we did all the hard work already. Yeah, I'm trying to get back and see if I can get back up there. Unfortunately, no. That is not an option. There's no long shot target, and even if there was, I can't really do much of anything because all the tektites are going to get in the way. So, finish off these tektites because they're going to be really annoying. And I don't have enough arrows to finish off the other ones, so yeah, there's nothing up there. Have to go back the way we came now. Oh well. So now we have to do what I did not want to do before. And this is why I did not want to do this before. As you can see, this becomes utter chaos. Yeah, just get hit by the boulder. It's less annoying. You take a quarter heart worth of damage. And now we just have to climb back up out of the pool before we get pulled into the whirlpool again. Alright, fortunately, this room still has the water level raised because we dropped the block down. Unfortunately, the stingers came back, but we can just avoid them. Alright, and now we loop. And we go through across the geysers once more. Oops. Yeah, we can't just ride the geysers back up, unfortunately. We need to actually long shot back up. Fortunately, I activated all of the tektites, which means they're down there now. Alright, now we're back to where we need to be. Alright, we need to sink down and follow this path. Oh, a shell blade. And here we have it. The last locked door for the last small key. And inside this chamber we have the boss key. There are a lot of fairies in here, by the way, despite the fact that this dungeon is not very difficult. Like, combat-wise. Alright, rather than go through all that again, I think I was going to use Farore's Wind and teleport back. Yes, let's do that. Let's take the shortcut back. Alright, now we need to raise the water level to maximum one last time. And after that, we can go deal with the boss. I mean, by and large, this has not taken much more time than the other dungeons. I mean, it's taking a bit longer. We're at the hour mark already, and I'm going to take on the boss, as opposed to most the other dungeons, which is it took an hour to complete them and the boss, so... I mean, marginally longer, but not much any more difficult, really. Alright, long shot across the gap. I have plenty of fairies, so it doesn't matter. And now, we reach the section of this temple that annoys me the most. Well, we put this off for as long as we can. We need to go up there and face the boss now. So, this ramp with these 3 blade traps are really annoying. If you stop moving upwards for even a second, you slide back down. If you get hit by any of the blade traps, you slide back down. Sometimes it can take longer to get up this one ramp than it can take to do any other puzzle or fight in this dungeon. Personally, I think the trick is just to go up one of the sides, because if you time it correctly, you can make it there. But it's really annoying. And yes, I find it more annoying than anything else in this dungeon. Alright, let's go. Alright. And Ruto is going to shout out here that this is not normal water. So, we're kind of having another boss fake us out here for a moment. But don't worry, it's not going to last very long, because as it turns out, this is going to be a boss fight against, well, kind of water itself. Kind of fitting for the Water Temple, I suppose. But it's also another type of boss fight in Zelda games we've had a few times in other games. The boss fight is the entire room itself. Giant aquatic amoeba, Morpha. So Morpha is essentially, like I said, is the nucleus you see there jumping around in a pool of water, which it makes pseudopods out of to grab us, shake us up like we're kind of just dolls, and then toss us into the various spikes around the room. That's Morpha's only method of attacking us. We need to long shot onto the nucleus, and then pull it out of the water, and towards us, and then attack it. On paper, this sounds like a very simple boss fight. In practice, this one's actually much more complicated than the previous ones we fought. This is where, in my opinion, the bosses of this game finally start putting up a good fight. So this is kind of like a cross between the boss fight in some of the boss fights in the past, like Argus, who you had to use Hookshot for to pull things away from the central mass to attack them with the sword, and my absolute favorite in that game, sarcastically, Mathula, who had a whole bunch of spikes lining and blade traps lining her lair, and we had to fight her too. There's not much else to say about this boss fight, really. It's a simple boss fight, but it's much more difficult than the other ones. Eventually, Morpha's going to start conjuring multiple pseudopods here, as you can see. And that ultimately means you have to guess which one is going to be the one that Morpha actually comes out of the water for that you can long shot onto. Apart from that, the nucleus will just start leaping about without any real rhyme or reason. And, yeah, you can get caught by the pseudopods. At which point, they do this. I remember there being a very funny image of Link being batted around and swung about by the pseudopods in the Nintendo Player's Guide I still have. He lets go of the Master Sword in the image. It's kind of funny. Very much not funny when it happens to you in this game. So, it can be a little tricky to see how you're doing in this boss fight because, well, as you can see, Morpha just basically hops about, and you just have to hope that you can long shot onto it and get in a few good hits. Oh, and try not to get grabbed. Try and keep your distance from the pseudopods, because until they fall apart, they can still grab you. Z targeting is intended to be used here to make this easier, but I think this is one of the rare times it actually complicates the boss fight a bit. I still kind of have to use it, but Morpha hops around so much, like a little ping pong ball almost, that it's very, very, very hard to target it accurate. Nope. And in the meantime, you can easily get grabbed by one of the other pseudopods. Oh yeah, Morpha also throws you at the spikes intentionally to do more damage. So my advice here is to just stay on the sides. Do not go on any of the platforms if you can avoid it. It becomes much harder to avoid Morpha when you're basically surrounded by it. On the outer platform, the outer ring of this boss fight, at the very least, you have the option of dodging a bit. Or staying put by it. And apart from that, it's just fire the long shot at the nucleus and hope you make contact before it makes contact with you. Getting low on hearts. Is this the first time I have to use a fairy? Well, I'm glad I picked up all the heart pieces I have, because otherwise this would be overboard. There we go! Like I said, it's hard to tell sometimes how good you're doing in this boss fight. Morpha doesn't really make much in the way of noise to indicate damage, and doesn't really flash red or anything, so it's kind of a guessing game. Alright, fortunately we have now defeated Morpha. And we have cleared the Water Temple! Yay! And it only took a little over an hour. So, I think we can safely say that the Water Temple isn't as bad as everyone makes it out to be. Alright, where's the heart container? There we go, because I'm not leaving without that. We are not making this a hardcore challenge. Where we don't collect any heart pieces or heart containers. Because the heart containers in this game are optional, by the way. Alright, 13 hearts. Let's get out of here. And once again, we are back in the Chamber of Sages, and it should be no surprise who the Sage of Water is. It's our fiancé, Ruto. Yeah, it should be pretty obvious at this point that the vast majority of the sages we are going to meet are going to be people we've met in the past. I've said it before, but let's restate it now. Ah, she's proud of us. Yes, just in case you're wondering, we don't, if we go back to Zora's Domain now, we don't find a thought or anything. This is one of those more gradual things, but it's perfectly fine. We've done what we needed to here. Unfortunately, Russo kind of has to call off our engagement because she's going to have to stay here as the Sage of Water. And we still have to keep continuing on our, our quest to save Hyrule. And here we have the first indication that Zelda has actually survived the past 7 years. Because bear in mind, absolutely no one has said anything about Zelda's fate up until now. And we get the next medallion. The Water Medallion, which if you can't tell by the original the design of it looks more like a snowflake. The Water Temple was originally going to be the Ice Temple, just like how the Forest Temple was originally going to be the Wind Temple. But they changed their mind at some point. During development. Yeah, okay, we'll tell Sheik say thanks. Hey, the water levels are returning to normal in Lake Hylia. Yeah, we did. And it wasn't even as difficult as everyone likes to try and make it out to be. Rare instance of us meeting Sheik after we clear a temple. Yeah, she did. Yes, well, for everyone's sake. Yep, everything is back to normal. Alright, and Sheik is going to pull yet another disappearing act on us. But just for a change, is going to jump in the water this time to get away from us. Swimming to get away from us. Well, let's hope Sheik is a good swimmer. Alright. One more thing before we go. We need the bow here. This little tablet here tells us to shoot the morning light when water fills the lake. And there we go. We now have access to one of the magic arrow types in this game, the fire arrows. Which, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you all, are not that useful. There will probably be some occasions in which it comes up for puzzles, but if you want to use them to fight actual monsters, you can, but I just find Din's Fire more useful for that if you need to actually burn things. Yeah. I just personally find that more helpful. Alright, so that's the third temple down and the fourth medallion claimed. We only have 2 left to go. So, where to now? Well, the best place to go for the moment is probably back to Kakariko Village. And look, there's not going to be any indication really that you need to go back that way, but just trust me. Ah, a tombstone here. This is rare. Alright, so it just opens up a hidden grotto, and down here we have business scrubs. Well, with one notable exception, they never have anything good. And when I say there's one notable exception, we're probably going to get to that in a few moments. I think it's coming up. This little research laboratory here on Lake Hylia, by the way, is kind of one of those parts for the trading quest sequence that, as I said, I'm not entirely sure I'm going to ever get to at this point. We'll have to wait and see. I'm going to, in the meantime, cut the grass here just to try and get some more magic vials to replenish my magic and resupply on bombs and arrows because I had to use a fair bit of them. plenty of rupees. Probably going to want another green potion at some point, because, as I said, we're going to need more and more magic as the game goes on. And as you've seen, the difficulty in this game is not very high. Alright, we can now leave Lake Hylia. Alright, so we're back in Hyrule Field. Now at the southwestern edge of it, I suppose. Yeah, here. I think the grotto's here somewhere, in this little enclosed space. Oops. Okay, get back across. Yeah, I can. We need an opponent to get through here normally, but that's not a problem. Alright, is it Song of Storms that is supposed to reveal the hidden grottos, or is that just in the Rings of Stone? Let's give it a try. Nothing. By the way, it's around this point that I noticed that the rumble feature on my Switch does work with the Stone of Agony, because it was triggering. That's why I was able to sense it. Alright. Maybe it's the Megaton Hammer then, if it's not bombs or Song of Storms. Let's try smacking a few places here with it. There we go. Alright, and here we have another business road. The only one in the entire game who sells anything of value, by the way. He's gonna sell us a piece of heart for only 10 rupees. Yes, buy it. Absolutely buy it. Alright, so that's 2. Halfway to the next heart container. I might get one more out of this. I don't know how many more we're gonna get, because a bunch of them are hidden behind ridiculous minigames in this game. But it's a start, at least. Alright, let's summon Epona and ride her across Hyrule Field, because it's faster. Oh yeah, you can use the bow on horseback, by the way. If I haven't mentioned that so far, you can. Unfortunately, the horse controls are not the best for combat, so... I imagine that is something that will end up getting fixed in the remake, because they'll probably update the horse controls to something closer to what they were in Tears of the Kingdom. But for the moment, it's not that great. I'll just leave it at that and say no more on the subject. Well, opponent certainly makes getting across Hyrule Field quicker, despite it being pretty small to begin with. Alright, so back up into Kakariko Village for a moment. And as you can see, Kakariko Village is in flames. I don't think it's ever actually explained why it's in flames. I think Ganondorf has something to do with it. But we're going to get a bit of an explanation here, but from Sheik, but not too much. Oh, well. Oh, and Sheik is being ragdolled and thrown around by something unseen. Oof, that looked like it hurt. And this shadowy presence is going to flee the well, as you can see here. I imagine this was such a big, impressive cutscene back in the 90s when this game came out, even though today's standards are probably not that impressive compared to what it could be. Yeah, we're no match for whatever that was at the moment. We're basically trying to fight something that's unseen. So that's going to be our next problem. The evil shadow spirit has been released. Apparently Impa had sealed it away in the bottom of the well. But the force of the evil spirit got so strong, and the seal of the well was broken, and it escaped into the world. Imp has apparently gone to the Shadow Temple to seal it again, but she'll be in danger without any help. So yes, there's also one of the few times that we actually get just, it's right said that Imp is one of the sages we need. So Shadow Temple is beneath the grave area we've been going to previously, so the only thing that she can do is teach us this melody that will lead us into the literal heart of darkness. The Nocturne of Shadows, which is probably the spookiest song we get in this game. It has a very downward trend to it, as you can see. So, yeah. Now, we need to find a way to fight an invisible enemy. And to break with pattern a little bit, this time, the item we need to do so is not in the temple we need to go to. We have to get that first. Okay, apparently we're going to leave the village to Sheik, and while we go off and deal with the... No, you don't have to! Sheik, do you have to flashbang us all the time? Alright. So, we now need to find a way to allow us to perceive an invisible enemy so we can fight it. But first, I'm going to release one of my fairies so I can get another green potion. Because, as you can probably guess, we're going to need magic to perceive the enemy we have to face. And probably going to need magic to fight the enemy we're going to have to face. Oh, it's closed until morning. Sun Song! Alright, now that's morning, let's go get the green potion. Alright, and then we're going to need to take a little trip through time. So we can't enter the well now because I'm guessing the Dark Spirit, when it was released, wreaked havoc down there and collapsed the entrance. That being said, we do have another option. We can go back in time and explore the well in the past. And in doing so, we're going to effectively prevent a time paradox. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Alright. First, we're going to use Prelude of Light. Get back over to the Temple of Time so we can put the sword away. Alright, time to become a kid again. Honestly, with the amount of time travel that's in this game, I think I'd have a lower opinion of it, but that just goes to show to the quality of Zelda games, I guess. That they can continue to shine despite the fact that they do on occasion deal with time travel. Despite a concept I'm not really fond of. Unfortunately, we don't get to keep the blue tunic, which I do prefer. Alright. So, I haven't had to use any of this equipment in a while now. A few videos, at least. Alright, I could play the Nocturne of Shadow and get us over to Kakariko Village. But I kind of wanted to leave the Shadow Temple for a surprise for the moment, because, trust me, it's going to be worth it. Ah, look at them all. They're so happy. It's a shame they're going to all be in so much trouble in 7 years' time. Yeah, this version of Link must have a very unique perspective on reality, given the fact that he's effectively a 10-year-old who's gone back and forth in time a few times now and has seen quite a few things of what the future holds. But is coming back in time to prevent it. Alright, so we now need to go back to Kakariko Village, and we need to get to the bottom of the well, which is probably in a first for the Legend of Zelda franchise is going to be kind of a horror-themed dungeon. That and the Shadow Temple. It's kind of a mini dungeon, similar to what the Ice Cave was. It's on a smaller scale, but we need to go there next. Now, as you may recall, when we learned the Song of Storms, the Windmill Man mentioned that 7 years ago, a kid with an ocarina came and played that song and caused the windmill to go berserk, obviously. Well, we must now honor causality and do that to prevent a time paradox. Welcome to time travel, everyone. So we now need to ruin this guy's day, all because of time travel mechanics. Trying to come up with a musical theme, huh? Well, let's teach him this one. So I know what the Song of Storm does to the windmill. However, at this point, because the well is still actually being used as a well, the windmill will cause all the water to be drained out for some reason. Do not ask me why that happens. I mean, we're making it rain. Shouldn't that fill the well up more? Yeah, it's going way too fast now. Alright. So, now we need to go down the well. And if the Redeads in the graveyard hadn't traumatized enough children for this generation, we're going to see even more of that now. Because, oh boy, is the bottom of the well rather intense, let's say. Alright, so now we have to explore the bottom of the well as young Link. Yeah, so we don't have access to any of the far more impressive equipment that we have access to as adult Link, like the long shot and the bow, which could be a bit of a problem. Okay, Navi can interpret the spirits of the dead for us. Look for the Eye of Truth. That's what we're looking for in here. As you can see, there's plenty of illusory walls and other illusions, including pitfalls we need to worry about. And in all honesty, I find the bottom of the well here more confusing than the Water Temple. It is the only reason it isn't probably as infamous is because it's smaller. Oh yeah, remember those bubbles we fought? There's a massive versions in here. So this is a bit of a prelude to what the Shadow Temple is going to be like. So there's something in here, danger below. That's what it says. Yeah. Alright, so we need to navigate this place. We don't have a map. We don't have a compass. In fact, I'm not even sure if those items exist in this place. And we do have to worry about locked doors and small keys. The bad news is, the bottom of the well is basically, for the most part, one massive chamber and a lot of side chambers. And a lot of illusory walls that we cannot even perceive at the moment. And a bunch of illusory pitfalls. So, yeah. This is going to be tricky. Alright, so we have some silver rupees to collect here, just like we did back in the Ice Cave. Oh yeah, by the way, this is the water that was in that well, essentially, and is poisonous to us. Also, there's a bunch of redeads down here. We can play the sun song, though, and we should be fine. Right? Yeah. And we can just cut them up with the Fury Sword. Unfortunately, due to the confusing layout here and the number of illusory pitfalls, we can fall down here multiple times, and by that I mean I probably did. And in doing so, all because we leave the floor and the room, I'm sure you realize that the enemies respawn. So this is going to be more problem. Oh, by the way, whenever Navi circles around a spot like that and glows green, that like a point of interest, that's where the pitfalls are you land, essentially. Alright, now we need to go up this ladder. Because realistically, the only way we can go. Alright, that's silver rupee number 4, and I believe number 5 is just at the top. Unfortunately, this doesn't actually help us very much, by the way. This just gets us back up to where we were. There's gonna be a lot of that. There we go. So that unbars this door, and we can get out this way now. Yeah, look for the Eye of Truth. Yeah. So that's what we're doing here. We're looking for a magic eye that'll let us see the truth. Because the Shadow Temple is going to be this, but worse. Alright, as you can see, we also aren't quite done with the water levels. I think this is a wall here. Yeah, here we go. This is also a bit of a prelude to what the Shadow Temple is going to be like thematically, by the way. And okay, yeah, there's... lands right in the water there. Or poison water. And the redeads respawn. Alright, fine. It's going to ignore us because we're on the ladder, so we're fine. Get used to me doing that, though, because I suspect it's going to happen a few more times. There's a lot of illusory pitfalls in here. Fortunately, we don't have to collect those rupees every time. Alright, we need to find a way to lower the water level. That chest, I think that chest is either the map or the compass, so there actually is a map or a compass in here, because it's definitely not what we're looking for. And it's a large chest, which means it's something important. And the reason I did that again is I wanted to see if there's a way of going around it, but no, the pit is literally just encompasses that entire section there, entranceway. And unfortunately, the bottom of the well is not the most memorable of dungeons for me, so I do not realistically remember where everything is here, whereas I remember a much better memory of all the other temples. This area is small enough that it's also forgettable, because I'll probably, on one playthrough, have a very easy time getting through here, and therefore not want to memorize where all the problems are and all the illusory walls, only for the next time I go through it like now, for it to actually be a bit of a problem. Yeah, we need to find a way of lowering the water levels, because we don't have the iron boots, so we can't just sink in here. Watch out wherever there's any of those face icons, by the way. There's usually an illusory pitfall beneath it. There we go. Alright, here we go. This is where we lower the water level. Finally. Alright. So there's not much here, but we have to explore the other areas that are filled with water now and try and find a way to proceed. Alright, let's go this way first. And, yeah, by the way, really spooky music in here, in case you can't tell. I can't hear it when I'm recording, but I can hear it whenever I'm not. Yeah, this could solve certain problems with that, which is a small key, but no, it's not. It's a heart. Yeah, there's a few fake outs in here, by the way. Alright, this next chamber introduces the Gibdos, which are kind of a quote-unquote upgrade to the Redeads. They basically fight the exact same way. Alright, we need to light these torches. They can paralyze us with their scream. So these torches are tied to these coffins, somehow. As you can see, it'll freeze us. With its scream, I call it the scream even though say it's their gaze. I mean, they scream every time it happens, so... And whether or not it's the gaze, intended to be the gaze in this one, in all the later Legend of Zelda games, it very much does become their cry that paralyzes you. Because they will not really just stare at you. It's definitely when they scream and cry at you is when you are stunned. Oh, there's another one. Alright, oof. Deal with some of these keys before this gets out of hand. Alright. Oh good, some of them are gonna set themselves on fire now, are they? Alright, gonna need the boomerang again to deal with them. Alright, in the meantime we need to search these coffins for something. I think it's a key. And we want to avoid having to fight the Gibdos. First, I think the Gibdos are less horrifying because they just look like, you know, mummies. Just kind of more typical Halloween-style mummies. Alright, I'm going to paralyze them all with the Sun Song, just so they don't paralyze me. Alright, now let's finish off these keys. There we go. Once I don't have to worry about everything else, I will be wearing my short work with them. And we might as well put these things down as well. Yeah. So they're basically just an upgrade to the the Redeads. They're slightly tougher, I think, and good grief with the camera not helpful there. Oh yeah, by the way, there's an odd mechanic in this game with the Redeads and the Gibdos. If you kill one of them and there's another one in the room, they feel the pain of the other one dying for some reason, and they kind of go over and mourn the body. Which is kind of a tragic element, I guess, to their character. There we go. Alright, so that's all the enemies in this room dead. I like how their bodies linger a little bit, because they're essentially zombies, so you kind of are concerned about whether or not they're going to get back up or not. Alright, here's the first of the small keys we need. Alright, there's nothing really else of note in here, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. They're not going to put multiple small keys in these coffins. Alright. Now, we need to continue. Alright, so we have one small key, but there are multiple locked doors in here. The funny thing is, I probably should have been searching these walls for illusory passages, because there's quite a few of those, but I could not remember where they were specifically. Alright, this one. Oh. Okay, there was an invisible pathway there, but I can't see it. Alright, so that was the wrong choice. Back down here yet again. Not having the map makes it so hard. Yeah. Scream at me all you want. I don't like this any more than you do. Alright. If I remember correctly, I'm going to spend the next little while searching for the right way to go and running back and forth in this place a bit. Which unfortunately is going to waste a bit of time, but I think that's what we're down to at the moment. Alright, so what I'm looking for at the moment is a very well hidden narrow passageway like this that is in one of the sunken pits. And that leads me to where I need to go. Yeah. Unfortunately, I no longer have a small key. If I had one, or any of the other small chests I just found scattered around the place, had a key instead, like having a heart or something else like that in it, I would be able to make more progress. This is kind of the frustrating aspect of this dungeon, especially the fact that I think I'm actually, like, right there pretty close to what was probably one of the passages that I was talking about, one of the illusory walls we can just walk through. Unfortunately, I had no way of knowing that at the time. Alright, so that leads back the way we were, so that's not it. Yeah. I think I just ran past I think that's where we need to go. Like, that area was filled with water before, and now it's not. Unfortunately, at the time, I didn't realize that. This is kind of the part where I'm starting to look for illusory walls, but unfortunately, I'm kind of looking for them in the wrong spots. Yeah. I remember where, roughly, this is where I'm supposed to look, but... Through here? What's through here again? Alright, yeah, this just drops me down into another... I didn't waste a lot of time on this, unfortunately. Oh well. Helps me fill out the 2 hours at least. Oh good, now I'm in front of it. Fortunately, I'm way too far. Alright, so back up this ladder one more time. And... Alright. Hopefully I can figure out the right way to go now. I remember there being a illusory passage here. I also remember there being a pitfall by this little cross section here. Alright. Is this a key? It'd be really nice if this was a key, but I'm pretty sure it's not. Yeah, by the way, most of the keys in this game, sorry, in this small section of the game, are hidden off in those illusory side passages I told you about. So this is... Yeah, see, that could have been a key. Like, why would you need Deku Nuts in here? It's just to mislead you, that's all. That's the theme of this section here. Is misdirection, unfortunately. Yeah, it is a there we go, okay. Yeah, this leads you down to where the rupees are. So at least you get something out of that this one, even though I don't really need too many rupees. But still, it's really annoying. Honestly, comparing this to the water temple I just did, the water temple was really enjoyable to this. This section's so tedious. Alright. Hopefully I'll have some better luck now. Because I'm getting tired of going up that ladder all the time. And seeing that door close behind me. Oh good, past me finally noticed this. I saw it twice in the time we walked through here. This also could have been a small key, by the way. It's not. Bombs. Why would they give bombs? What do you need bombs for in this area? I promise you the Shadow Temple is not this annoying. This is more annoying. Okay. giant Skulltula drops down on top of you and does a spin attack. Sure, why not? Alright, through this door is the quote-unquote boss for this dungeon. The only enemy in the game that is more horrifying than the Redeads and the Gibdos. The Dead Hand. This sort of zombified T-Rex thing with infinite hands. And it is actually a much bigger threat than the other, than the White Wolfos we fought in the Ice Cave. Also, apparently you can use bombs or something to bomb where it is if you see it burrow down. And yeah, watch out for its infinite hands, aim for its head. And you can get to resurface. This thing is probably the only creature that has ever traumatized anything more than the Redeads in this game. And it went on so far to inspire an entire creature, a homebrew monster in Dungeons & Dragons called the False Hydra, which is literally designed to basically be used for like a horror campaign, or horror session. And it looks quite a bit like this thing. At least all the artwork I've seen of it. Has very much the same sort of head vibe, except imagine multiple heads. I think that's where the hands also came from, inspired the idea of it sending heads to the ground or something. Anyway, I'm not going to talk too much about that because I've never really run a campaign with the False Hydra, or seen the campaign run, but I've heard about it. Apart from that, this thing's actually pretty easy to deal with. It's still like twitching and quivering like it's going to get back up. Honestly, Nintendo, if you guys wanted to make a horror game, all you had to do was do so. This is pretty close. Alright, and here we have what we came all this way for. The Magical Lens of Truth. Probably my favorite magic item in this entire game. It basically gives us true seeing from Dungeons & Dragons. So we can now see through all illusions with this. It consumes magic, but not at a very high rate. And it is going to be essential going forward. So, we can leave now, by the way, because we have what we came for. We only came here to get this. The rest of this dungeon is optional, which, by the way, means we basically skipped it to the end despite, getting lost multiple times. However, I do want to show off the Lens of Truth. Because otherwise, well, what's the point of getting a magical item if you're not going to showcase it? And yeah, here are all the small keys, by the way. And you can see through illusory walls and see all the pitfalls now. And this is where we get to this chest, which, was it the compass? Or was it the map? It's one of the two. It's the compass. Alright, well, the compass probably would have helped a little bit, but it really doesn't matter in here. So we now see where the chests are. No, that's just the way we've already come. Alright. Yeah, that opens up through there. I do have a small key now, so I can open this up. Okay, Dekababa, more floating urns, and the golden Skulltula. Well, I'll get this just so I can, because I'm probably going to miss a bunch of the other ones. I missed 2 in the Water Temple, and I'm pretty sure I don't get the other one that's in here. Honestly, from here on out, those golden Skulltulas really are not that valuable. Once you get the first upgrade, the first rupee wallet upgrade, that's all you need. So yeah, the water flowing out of the statue is flooding the entire floor. No, Navi, we turned that off already. And this just shows how much easier it is to navigate through these dungeons when you have the map and you have the compass. This will be another key. Honestly, we probably should just leave at this point, which I think I'm going to get to in a moment, because there is no point. We have what we came for. We can go now. But I felt it was important to show off what the Lens of Truth can actually do. and why we need it going forward. Oh, for crying out loud. Unfortunately, the camera is not being helpful here. There we go. Yeah, the camera is one of the things that needs to be reworked in the remake, I think. Most of the things I think the remake needs is just going to be some minor quality of life stuff like that. Updating things like bow controls, camera controls, horse controls, that sort of thing. The rest of the game has aged very well. I don't think, again, I'm going to say it now, I don't think this is the best Zelda game. But, nor is it my favorite, but it has held up remarkably well for a game that is almost 30 years old. Alright, so with that, we now have what we need to continue with our quest. So, back to the Temple of Time then, and then I have an important decision to make. We'll discuss that there. Alright, back in the Temple of Time. Let's get the Master Sword and go forward 7 years now. Not a great deal left of this game, by the way. We have 2 temples to do, which we can basically do back to back. Some side content that I might do, and then we have the end game. So, yeah, not much left to say, really. So, what I do want to say, though, is, as I mentioned, there are 2 temples we can do now, basically back-to-back, and because we have the Lens of Truth, we can actually do them in either order. Up until this point, we have kind of been going in the linear order. We don't have to do that anymore. So, I'm going to open my menu here in a moment, and I'm going to explain to you what I mean. So if we look in the quest status screen, right, that is the Shadow Medallion there, and the one below it is the Spirit Medallion, indicating the original order was to be Spirit Temple and then Shadow Temple. Because apparently, as I said before, these medallions were all meant to have magical properties. So the Lens of Truth was supposed to be the Spirit Medallion. So I might go and do the Spirit Temple next, instead of the Shadow Temple. I'll decide that before we resume playing next time, because it might be interesting doing that order. A lot of people do that. In the meantime, thank you for watching, everyone. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and please join me here again next week when we continue our adventures in the lands of Hyrule to try and save it from Ganondorf's evil. Goodbye, everyone.